Okay, hello and welcome everyone. Welcome to JFD Brokers Traders Tea Time with me, Darius Anucauskas. Today is the 1st of February 2019, so welcome everyone. Welcome to this Friday's afternoon session where we're going to have a look at the markets, a few charts, and as always, before we start looking at that, let's quickly have a read through our risk disclaimers. So, the content we produce does not constitute investment advice or investment recommendation, should not be considered as such, and does not in any way constitute an invitation to acquire any financial instrument or product. As always, a few seconds for you to read the rest, and we can continue. Okay, so now then guys, let's quickly jump into the charts. Now the first one I want to touch on here is the Dow Jones. Now of course, as you probably are aware right now, that the NFP numbers came out, and they came out much better than expected, and even better than the revised previous numbers. So basically, of course, the stock market got a little boost here to the upside, and looking at the Dow yesterday, of course, we saw this one closing just slightly, just fractionally below the psychological 25,000 level, and it closed at the 24,999.67. and of course, looking at the cash index right now, we are already trading above the closing, yesterday's closing price, and we are about 100 points above that. So in a way, this is the what I'm looking at here, and I was talking about this index in one of my previous videos, and basically I was telling you guys to keep a close eye on this 25,100 level. So in a way, this is where the index is trading right now in the cash index, and basically, if this continues to push higher above this level, then certainly we do have a good potential to move higher in the more near future, maybe towards the 25,800 level, which has a nice potential area of resistance here. Certainly on the way there, you could in a way target some of other key areas of resistance, like for example the high of the 30th of November last year, and that was approximately around the 25,555 level. So a nice good number here with a lot of fives. So in a way, you could target that one, of course, but we need to see a nice good push above the 25,100 level. Certainly, like I said, currently it's just balancing around that on the looking at the cash index. So let's see how this plays out, because overall, of course, you can see that we're also trading below this downside resistance line taken from the highs of October last year. So in a way, this is going to be your gauge here. If this suddenly reverses sharply back down and drops below this downside resistance line, this would also automatically place the index below the 24,840 level, so also seen as a good potential area of support, as previously it acted as a very good area of resistance. So in a way, what we could see, of course, here where we could look at is the 24,840 level. So keep your eyes on that one. That's in terms of the downside, but then again, like I said, we need to see for the downside, we need to see that nice strong reversal here to back below this downside resistance line. On the upside, well, if it continues to trade above the 25,100 level, and if it continues to show support above that level, then yep, we could start aiming for the 25,555 level. Okay guys, so now then jumping into one commodity, or should I say precious metal, and that's silver. So looking at the daily chart on this one here, you can see that today we're having a bit of a decline day, a bit of a down day, but as you can see that the bulls are really fighting strong and trying to push this commodity back up here, and certainly they've managed to at least accomplish one thing, to push it back above the 16 level. So in a way, kind of becoming a psychological or a very good potential area of support here. So watch out for the 16 level. If this, let's say, suddenly decides to close the day here below the 16 level, well, there is a chance that we could see maybe a bit of retracement back down here towards the towards this next potential area of support, which previously acted as a good area of resistance, and that's approximately around the 15.87 level, approximately there. So you can see marked by the highs that we saw here back on the 4th of January. So in a way, if this continues to hold the price from pushing lower, then we could see a nice rebound, potential rebound, of course, and a push back up again. But again, for now, guys, all eyes are on the 16 level. Probably that's where the whole trading for today is going to end up being, but then again, we still have the US session to go, and let's see how that plays out, and let's see what we can squeeze out of here. But in order, let's say, for us to now consider much higher levels, we need to see this commodity remaining above the 16 level, and then eventually, of course, pushing above the this week's highs, which were around the let me just quickly check that. So that was around the 16.8818 level. So a nice good push above that could send this precious metal higher again, and above that we do have the 16.325 level, approximately there, also acting as a nice potential area of support here in the past. Now this time it could play out as a resistance, but to be honest, this could be just seen maybe as a short-term temporary pit stop for the bulls, because if the buying momentum is going to remain strong, we could see this one traveling all the way towards the 16.50 level, approximately there, marked near the highs of the 25th of June. So keep your eyes on this one right now for today. Keep your eyes on the 16 level. Let's see how this plays out, and yep, we might potentially squeeze something out of it maybe next week, to be honest, because like I said, if this remains here, then well, all the action could be seen next week. Jumping into euro dollar now, this is a bit of a sideways action here today, a little bit. Nevertheless, it has a nice push higher. It did have a nice push higher during before the NFPs. Then it did slide for a little bit lower, which you can see that it slid here towards the pivot, maybe just slightly below the pivot, but now it's currently trading still above the pivot. Now the big question here is this going to remain above this tentative upside support line here, and will it actually remain trading above the above this pivot? But of course, all eyes are on that. Let's see how this plays out, and certainly for now we are looking it may stay around here, but the big question here is, of course, would we actually reach the previous 115 level or not? But at the moment, you can see that there is a bit of a sideways action here. It seems that it's trying to figure out where exactly it wants to travel, but if suddenly this drops below the pivot, then well, we could in a way start aiming slightly lower. Of course, it would be very interesting to see if it would, if that happens, would it reach actually this level right here around the 114.33 marked near the lows of today, actually. So in a way, like I said, that's why it's a very tricky one at the moment. Certainly, like I said, having a nice retracement right now back down, it probably could end up just trading sideways and leaving all the moves for next week. So that's why, guys, for now, remain very cautious on this one. We did have, like I said, better than expected NFP numbers. The only thing is, of course, that would support the dollar, that supports the dollar, and you can see that little slide lower here. But then again, it's still kind of staying here, up here. It's not dropping sharply on that, because we did have slightly better than expected preliminary CPIs or core CPIs today coming out for the Eurozone. So that's why maybe it's just having that nice kind of hold up here, and that's why it's not allowing it to drop further down. So long story short, guys, for now, keep your eyes on the pivot. Let's see where it wants to end the day today. Certainly currently trading above this short-term tentative upside support line, as kind of providing a bit of support. If this, like I said, decides to travel further up here today, then yep, watch out for the psychological 115 level, or maybe even actually the 1.1515, which was marked here by the highs of this week. So very good potential areas here on the upside, but again, we need to see a nice reversal here back to the upside. But for now, you can see that there is a slight reversal to the downside, and all eyes are on this little short-term tentative upside support line. But also keep your eyes on the lows, on today's lows at around 114.33. If let's see if it actually reaches that or not. But to be honest, like I said, it could be a calm one, a calm Friday for today. So keep your eyes on that one. Jumping into GBPUSD, so looking at this overall here, you can see that it's still trading above this short term, in a way maybe tentative upside support line taken from the lows of January. And of course now it did have a nice push higher. It's currently kind of getting held here near this 130.60 level, so keep your eyes on that one, because you can see that it's currently acting as a nice barrier for this pair. If this decides to push further up here higher, we might see maybe a move back towards the S1, towards today's S1, which is around the 130.80 level, 83, something like that. This could be that nice area for a test, but to be honest, judging by how it's shaping up here right now, if this suddenly manages to drive back above this pivot, then, well, I mean, that would show that the pair is not really willing to give up, and the bulls are not really willing to give up. So we could see maybe further acceleration to the upside going into next week. But for now, it's currently, like I said, is getting held here near the 130.60 level. We still have some room here towards this upside support line, this tentative upside support line, so could in a way come into play. But yeah, for now, like I said, for now, guys, it's probably a bit of a tricky one. It is currently sitting next to S2, which is already quite oversold here for today. But again, let's see how this day is going to end, and probably as long as we remain above this upside support line, this tentative, even though it's a tentative one, but upside support line, as long as we remain above that, we will still aim higher. We need to see a drop here below this upside support line, and a drop below this level right here at around 130, so the psychological 130. So a nice good drop below this could open the path towards much lower levels. But for now, guys, certainly you can see that it's kind of it's struggling. It doesn't know what it wants to do with the S2. It doesn't want to push away from it to the upside, or actually does it want to reverse later on and push lower down. But again, for the downside, you could in a way keep an eye on today's lows, which were near the 130.45. A nice good drop below the 130.45 could open the path towards that retest of this upside support line. So okay, basically, guys, again, the same story. We need to keep a close eye on it. We need to keep a close eye on these levels. So like I said, on the upside here for today, 130.85, approximately there, 130.85, 83. A nice good push above this could lead towards the pivot again, but a drop below the 130.45 could lead towards the this upside support line. And the last pair I wanted to quickly touch on, and that's USDJPY. Now, of course, having a nice push here higher. It's moving a little bit slowly grinding higher, and slowly aiming for this the lower side of the range that the pair was trading in the beginning of this week. And you can see that on Wednesday it exited to the downside, but now kind of found good resistance, or sorry, good support, found good support near the 108.50, from which it rebounded, and now it's pushing higher. The big question here is actually, will it get back into this range or not? Because if it does get back into the range, this is where we will become neutral again, because this range is between the 109.10 and the 110 levels. So this 90 pip range approximately this is our neutral zone, because it has both equal chances either of breaking to the upside or breaking down again. So but that's of course in this scenario if it decides to push back inside this little range here that we've got. So for now, guys, all eyes are on the 109.10. let's see where this day is going to end, and if we do see a close of the daily candle here inside of it, then, well, I mean, the weekly candle will stay here as well, and that's why we're going to remain a little bit more on the neutral side and wait until we see another either break below here, below the 109.10 or above the 110 level. If suddenly, let's say, we do have a scenario where this, let's say, decides to not going back into this range, but then reverses sharply back down and drops below the 108.50 level, now this is where more bears could start getting excited, because this could open the path towards the 107.75 level marked here by the lows of the 10th of January. But then again, maybe this could be something for next week. But again, like I said, still also keep an eye on this low here, this week's low at around 108.50. Let's see how this plays out. But but at the moment, of course, looking at the 109.10, that's probably where the whole focus should be right now, at around was 109.10. Let's see if if the pair gets back into this little range that we had it trading in for this week. So keep your eyes on that one. Okay guys, I hope you found it useful, and thank you very much for watching and listening, and thank you very much for sticking around. And if you want to join me on Monday in my Traders Espresso, and that's 7 o'clock GMT time as always. But for now, I hope you have a fantastic weekend. For those who are finished for today, for those who are still trading, have a wonderful US session, and I'll see you on Monday. Bye bye.